I want to talk about what I found to be the very interesting paradox at the heart of your book. It presumes that public reason, the essential reasonableness of public discussion, of the kind we're having this evening, is an essential part of defining what justice is. But the cynics would put to you that for the world we live in, the public, all of us sitting here, are often deeply unreasonable people. So where does the unreasonableness of the public, the cynical, jaded, bigoted side of the public fit in with the concept of justice?
Barkha, that's a wonderful question. 3 things to say on that. First of all, to say, if people were to engage in open-minded public discussion, what would emerge will have some claim to being considered the right way of understanding justice. For that, you don't need to assume that everyone is reasonable. It's a question of what would happen if there had been. So that's the first point. The second point to make is that actually I think people are very able to reason about most things, and we do actually.
But what happens when democracies often endorse what could be seen by many as patently unjust regimes? At any given point, you speak about there being no backlash against the Indian Muslims in Bombay, but after the riots in Gujarat in 2002, the government was able to come back with an overwhelming victory, and that was also democracy at work. So how do you explain the paradox of democracy in being able to create as much injustice as it is able to create justice?
You're absolutely right. One of the points that I make in the book, making the distinction between nitis and nyaya, is that setting up the democratic institutions are the nitis. What results depends on how we practice it. The nyaya demands more. Now, what happens in Gujarat, and to a much bigger extent in the rest of India, is that the impact of the Gujarat riots and the barbarity that it involved could be seen over the years. I think it affected the 2004 election. It did not help the BJP in winning the election because it was in some ways implicated with what happened in Gujarat.
Narendra Modi won his own state.
But you were talking about the immediate results following that. Now, that was, in that context, first of all, you're talking about a very excited state at that moment. And I am disappointed that in the 2004 election or 2008 election, our recent election, 2009 election, Gujarat did not go the way the rest of India did fully. On the other hand, even in Gujarat, there is certainly weakening of that position that was at its peak almost immediately after the events when the tempers were still high and the engagement had not started. Now, I would tend to think, and my hope would be, that if there are debates held in Gujarat on this subject more and over time, that it would change. But am I disappointed by the slowness of that movement? Yes. Am I happy that the rest of India, there was relatively little support for the Modi position? Yes, I am happy.
There's a footnote in your book that quotes a joke that I think you don't find too funny. I found it quite funny when I read it, quoting Clement Attlee, saying that democracy is government by discussion, but it makes sense only if the people stop talking. So. Yeah.
This laughter indicates, when you hear the first time, it appears quite funny.
It is funny.
Yeah. It is funny. I mean, there are some jokes I can hear a number of times. And this one, if you go on telling me this every morning, I think I probably will stop laughing very soon.
Tuba.com